All right, here we are with Zeneca. Welcome to the Defiant podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Yay! So Zeneca is an NFT investor and a content creator, very deep in the whole non-fungible token space, which has, of course, blown up this year, led a lot of the crypto rally, the DeFi rally. I think we're starting to agree. NFTs are blending into finance, blending into culture, and it's just a phenomenon that is going to be here to stay. So, really eager to get your thoughts on all this, as you're probably one of the people who are tracking this the closest. But to start, would love to just hear about your background, how you got into NFTs and crypto.
Yeah, sure. So I got into NFTs sort of the start of this year, and crypto mainly then as well. But before that, I was a professional poker player for about 15 years. So I came from a non-traditional background, non-traditional career, and that sort of, made the transition into NFTs relatively seamless and easier than if, say, I was quitting a 9-to-5 traditional job to get involved. So yeah, I played professional poker for 15 years. I went from high school to that, and then sort of around 2016, 2017, when the crypto bull market was happening, then I started getting a little bit into crypto. I was excited by it, into Ethereum and all the possibilities, but I couldn't really visualize, what all these smart contracts would be used for in the future. I didn't quite get it the same way that I think that I do now. So sort of when the bear market hit in 2017, I sort of left the crypto space. I was less interested. I wasn't one of the ones that stuck around. Went back to real life, went back to poker. And then sort of the start of this year, when everything started picking up again, prices were taking off, I was, starting to get more interested in what was happening. And yeah, so NFTs was sort of starting to pop off around the same time, say, January, February, March. And I had some friends who hadn't really left the space. They'd been in the crypto space for a few years, and they were telling me a bit about, hash masks and CryptoPunks and, how they're worth tens of thousands of dollars. And I couldn't believe it, obviously. Like anytime someone first hears about NFTs, they think it's a scam or something outrageous or ridiculous. And that was basically my first impression too. But eventually I realized, these friends of mine, they're really smart. They wouldn't be spending so much time and money in the space if there wasn't something of substance there. So I started doing some research. I started doing some reading and digging and like educating myself on NFTs and just crypto again in general, because I hadn't been in the space for a while, and trying to catch up. And yeah, I just sort of fell in love and made a bit of a conscious decision to spend a lot of my time on the crypto space, NFT space, and not on poker. And that was probably around March, maybe Feb, March. And then just since then, it's been 8 months, and I'm still learning. I spent a lot of time learning and figuring out what's going on. Maybe 4 or 5 months was pretty heavily trading NFTs, like buying, selling on an active daily basis. And then somewhere along the way, I decided to create content. I decided to start a newsletter, largely because I've found that I learn about things best if I'm trying to write about them and, explain it to other people. And so I thought it would be really helpful for me to sort of talk about projects that were going on at the time. And it just sort of blew up, and a lot of people started to really resonate with the words, I guess. And so that's one thing. And then I do these daily stats on Twitter, which I just, again, started tracking the floor price of a handful of projects that I was personally invested in, just of personal interest, because it was helpful for my trading. And I tweeted out once, and a lot of people were like, well, this is really, really cool and interesting. And I was like, all right, well, maybe I'll just tweet this out every day. And, 5 months later, here we are. It's really blown up. And yeah, from there, I have just kept sort of creating content, and, I have a podcast, and then I've got a Discord server, and I have my own NFT drop coming out. I'm going to start a YouTube channel, and I'm really focused now less on the day-to-day trading and buying and selling of NFTs, and more on sort of creating and trying to find ways that I can give value back to the community via content or via sort of consulting and advising on projects, trying to help them launch, the best version of their products. And yeah, less trading basically. And that's where we are.
Okay, so that was a great summary and catch up to the present day. But I wanted to go back to a couple of points. One is what do you think made that click for you? That, you went from being a skeptic, not so interested in crypto beyond just like the trading aspect, to realizing, there's something here in NFTs that, I want to spend most of my time in this space.
Yeah, so it was probably a combination of things. One was having some friends that were sort of in the space and realizing that, like, if I trust them and think they're smart people, there's probably something there and I should, do more research. But the thing that actually made it click, I guess, is that I read this article on a newsletter by Packy McCormack. He has a Substack called Not Boring, and he wrote a post called Power to the Person or Power to the People, I can't remember. And it was basically about the creator economy, Web3, and how NFTs will, just create this many of these opportunities for content creators, like whether it's artists or game designers or whoever, to, expand their reach and create content that, people who appreciate and value it can buy from all around the world and effectively have true digital ownership. Like I guess that was the specific thing that when I realized that we now have a way for people to have like true ownership over digital assets, and realizing how much of our lives are run on the digital world, that really made it click for me.
So from there, what was the next step? Like, did you just start buying NFTs that you liked? Were you kind of, like how was your research process that led you into like what to buy? Like how to like first get started into the space?
Yeah, it was, excuse me, it was quite a different scene back then compared to what it is now. So I don't know how applicable my journey will be, but it was sort of, it was a bit of like buying things that I liked and thought were interesting and cool. And for a long time, they would usually go down in value. Like it wasn't a case of, quick flipping like it may have been a couple of months ago. It was a sort of, hey, this project looks cool, let me buy an NFT in it because I'm really into NFTs. But there wasn't really any sort of immediate profit scene or even medium-term profit scene. By medium term, I mean a few weeks. Time is crazy in the NFT space. But so I wasn't really full on in the NFT space to begin with. I was still dabbling with other crypto coins. I think still playing a little bit of poker. I was like trying to learn more about it and just be in the space, talk to other people, talk to friends, join Discords, find things that were cool and interesting, spend time in the Discords of projects that I really liked. I remember I found Zrun, back in April, I think, and I spent a lot of time learning around all, how that ecosystem worked. And from there, it's just like you talk to other people, you network, you hear about other projects that sound cool and interesting. And I start buying into a few projects, and eventually some of them will go up in value. And then you just get a better idea of what works, what doesn't, and that's just part of the learning process, I think.
What was your first like major kind of NFT like breakthrough, like piece that really kind of like made it that you went like, oh wow?
It probably was a Zrun horse. So I participated in one of their drops, I think start of April, and I just got really lucky. Like I got a Genesis horse, which, the drop was, it's difficult to even get one because a lot of people were trying and there's gas and all sorts of other issues. And I got one, I think I got 2 or 3, and one just happened to be just a big winner. And at in those times you could race your horse, as many times a day as you could basically. And I was racing up to 100 times a day, and the horse was generating income for me, generating profit. And so I was like, whoa, this is, I remember someone offered me 4.5 ETH to buy it, and 4.5 ETH was maybe my entire bankroll at the time. It was like an enormous sum of money, and I was really strongly considering it. And I just started asking around. I reached out to other people in the Zrun space because I didn't really know how to value the horse, and it wasn't like sure like how long I could continue racing it for, how long it would be profitable for, what breeding value there would be, and eventually ended up not selling. And then, now the horse has probably earned 5-6 ETH in profit just racing, wow, let alone the actual value or the the profits generated from selling the offspring. That was definitely my first big, I guess, win in the NFT space.
Interesting. And now how big is your NFT portfolio?
In terms of number of NFTs, it's somewhere in the like maybe 2.5 to 4,000 range. It's really hard to know exactly how many I have that are like genuine NFTs, because there's like an issue with spam at the moment where projects will just send tons of NFTs to people's wallets and mint them directly, and they're usually worthless garbage. So yeah, somewhere between let's say around 3,000 NFTs. And in terms of like value, it fluctuates. I haven't really checked in a while. Obviously we're in a bear market, but somewhere in the, say, mid 7-figure range is roughly what it's grown to.
Amazing. Wow. Curious how your poker skills apply to NFT trading, if at all.
Yeah, I haven't really ever consciously thought about a situation in the NFT space and gone, hey, it's similar to this in poker. I can apply similar approaches, but I think just generally the mindset is very helpful. Where in poker, you have to learn to sort of have like a healthy level of disassociation from money, or detachment from money. Like when you're playing poker, you're using chips. Like even though you bought in with real money, the money is sort of a tool. Like you bet with chips and you win and lose chips, and then at the end of the day, week, month, you sort of do the bookkeeping, and you have to treat it a bit like a business. It's sort of similar with NFTs and like Ethereum. Like Ether is yes, it's real money, it's currency, but it's also a bit of a tool that we use to invest and buy and trade projects. And yeah, like there are times when you're going to invest and lose a bunch of money. There are times when you're going to invest and make a ton of money. And if you like get really upset when you lose and too euphoric when you win, it sort of messes with your head and makes it difficult to think rationally. So I think all the experience in the poker space has really allowed me to separate the money from the logic, I guess, and all of that.
So kind of viewing money and value being transacted in the NFT market more like poker tips than actual money is like helpful, I guess.
Yeah, it's definitely helpful, I think, on like a short-term basis. Obviously, if you take it too extreme in either direction, if you just believe it's not real money, then you end up making poor decisions. And you need to have some level of attachment to say, hey, it's 6 ETH, that's $25,000 US. That's a lot of money. But if you're just always thinking about, oh crap, the floor price went down 0.05 ETH or 0.5 ETH, and then that's this many dollars, that's how much rent, that could have been a car or a holiday or a new computer. Then if you're always thinking about that and you're too in your head, I think it's easy to make poor decisions because your emotions are running the show and not your logic.
Yeah, makes sense. I'm interested in how your view of ETH has changed by being involved in the NFT market, because you mentioned before that ETH is currency, and to some people maybe outside of DeFi or outside of the NFT space, that might not be so obvious. But I think for people who are constantly transacting NFTs and NFTs are priced in ETH by default, that kind of just like starts to become second nature. So I'm wondering, if you go back to when you were looking at crypto in like 2017, or like the first times you ever like learned about Ethereum and ETH, and how you view ETH now, like how has that changed? Yeah,
it's definitely feels a lot more like a currency now than it did in 2017, or even in like May of this year, June even. Like it's only after having transacted with it a lot and using it on a daily basis does my brain start to think in ETH. And it's like when you're buying and selling things, I think of things in ETH price, and I have to, like in the past it would be always doing the math and converting it to US dollars or Australian dollars when I was there, and now it's sort of a secondary thing where I think of it in ETH first and foremost, like how much does it cost, that much ETH, oh okay, and then like lately I have to remind myself, hang on, ETH has doubled in price, it's now 4,300 or whatever. 0.1 ETH is not $250, it's now $450, and there's some sort of real world ramifications that has on the market. But yeah, generally, back in 2016, 2017, ETH was sort of an investment. It was like an asset or just a thing that I bought and hoped that the number went up. Whereas now it's something that I use on a daily basis to to trade, buy and sell things, but even I have a couple of employees now, and I pay them their wages in ETH. It's a currency, and they're happy to accept it. I'm happy to give it, and it just works well. So yeah, it's definitely a situation now where I think in ETH more.
Even in like general life, like I don't know, the grocery store.
Less so in general life. Yeah, although occasionally I'll be looking to buy a fairly large purchase, whether it's a new laptop or a new phone, and it'll be $1,000 or $1,500 or euros, and I'm thinking that's kind of a lot of money, because in real life that is kind of a lot of money. And then sometimes I'll do the math and be like, hang on, that's only quote unquote only 0.2 or 0.3 ETH, and it's like I just spent that on some random profile picture project that launched out of nowhere, and it's like it really is a reality check when you do the math sometimes. But yeah, day to day, I don't in real life, I don't think about it in ETH, but when I'm in the NFT space, yeah, it is all ETH.
You're right. Yeah, I guess these prices really have a way of distorting reality. It's like when you're dealing with NFTs and with DeFi, and you spend 0.1 ETH, maybe even in gas,
Exactly. Sometimes the gas fees are so much, and MetaMask tells you what it is in US dollars, and I've just I just generally block that out, and I'm like, okay, it's just gas, is what it is. But especially for people newer to the space, when they see gas, it's going to cost you $125 to process this transaction, it really is jarring. And especially even when I was several months ago getting used to the space, it really made me think twice, and I was reluctant to transact, as you should be if it's a lot of money. But now I think of it in ETH, and
it makes it, I guess, easier to swallow. So okay, so you've grown this huge NFT portfolio in just a few months, really quite impressive. So what how do you go about picking what projects to invest in? What do you look for?
So the number one thing I always look for is I look at the team behind the project, the creator, the artist, the managers, the marketers, everyone. I want to know who is working on the project. That's just the number 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 reason for me. And there are projects that have mediocre art, mediocre roadmaps, mediocre everything. But if it's an A+ team who has a proven track record of releasing successful projects, then I'm usually very willing to at least hear them out and take a chance on them. So that's just by far the number one thing. Beyond that, I'll look at I like projects that are doing something new, something innovative, something creative, not just copying all the other projects that have come before. I mean, obviously you can have some success buying into projects that are copying previous projects, and obviously every new project takes some inspiration from everything that's been done before, because if a project does something, it works, community likes it, take it, use it, build on it, great. But if a project is doing something completely new and can execute well, and it's just a great thing, then that is what really appeals to me.
Okay, so main things are who is behind the project and how much innovation there is.
Yeah, I would say those are the two biggest things. I mean, sort of in conjunction with the first point, the team, I also want to know the community, who are the other people that are investing into this project. It can be hard to find that out sort of before a project launches, but you can get a bit of a feel for it by hanging out in the Discord, seeing who else is excited, why they're excited for it. Are they just there for the money? Do they think it's just going to be a quick flip, or are they also as interested in the innovation or the creativity or the team as I am?
It seems like community is such an important part of NFTs at this moment, at least, because beyond just investing in the art itself or the token itself, what you're really buying into is the community. So it is just such a key piece of the investment. So what do you how do you tell whether a community is good and is sustainable and here for the long run? And also from all the different projects you've seen, what are some of the what have you seen is an effective way of building these communities?
So, I mean, what makes a good community, or what appeals to me? Like, everyone is different, and everyone's gonna, like, there are a bunch of different communities now, and they all have different, like, personalities, and different humans will be attracted to different ones for different reasons. So I'd say just find a community where, if you're in the Discord and chatting to other people in that community, you just get along well with them. You like the things they're saying, the way they're saying them, just the people that they are. If you have fun and, you make friends, that's great. Like, that's the number one thing. And, different communities will have different people again. So in terms of, like, a strong community and finding people that are, like, there for the long run, again, that's just chat with them, have conversations, and see, are people, like, really concerned about the floor price and their investment in terms of financial terms going up and down, or are they just, there because they like the project, they like the team, and they like where things are going to be in a year, and are just having fun, engaging with one another in the community. It's getting more difficult to find these communities, I think, especially as a percentage, like, of every project that drops, very few of them are going to be able to create sustainable, long-term, excellent communities, just because there are so many people trying to make money in the NFT space right now that each community is, like, just going to get flooded with people who are just there for the money. And then, when the bear market hits, which we're kind of in one now, most of these people will go away, and then who is left in the project are the true believers, true supporters. So I actually think that a good way to find really good communities and investments is to look for projects that may have launched a few weeks, a couple months ago. The floor price may have tanked a lot, and just go and check out their Discord, spend time there, see if the team is still active, if they're still updating and working on building and creating things, and if there's still, like, a core community of strong supporters, then those can be some of the best investments, I find, because those are the projects that can really take off, and you can get in at a really low price point after sort of all the flippers and the people that were just there for a quick buck have left.
Do you have examples of, like, recent projects like that you've joined?
I know one I really like is Top Dog Beach Club. I've spoken about it a bit lately. It's sort of, it launched 2 or 3 months ago, somewhere around then, and it never really took off to, like, amazing commercial success. It's been trading, decently at, like, a little bit above mint price, even now still, and has, reached a bit higher, maybe 0.5 at one point. It minted at 0.08. But it doesn't have the hype. It doesn't have a ton of people in there right now. But the team is excellent. Like, they're one of the first fully, like, not anonymous teams. They, came out, said who they were, what their backgrounds were, and were dedicated to providing value for the community. And it has a really strong group of core believers. And, the team is still building. There's still people there having fun and, talking about in real life events and, online games and all sorts of ways to connect and have fun. And, it hasn't taken off yet. It may never take off. You can't predict these things, but I'm a big fan of that one. And that's probably the most recent one that fits the criteria.
Cool. So it looks like you put a premium on non-anonymous founders.
Mm-hmm. I do. It is definitely possible to be anonymous and launch successful projects, except sort of in the current landscape with, hundreds of projects launching a week or a month. If a team is anonymous, it is more difficult to get people to be convinced to be wanting to invest in that project, because it's all too easy for sort of the same core group of developers and creators to launch multiple projects, and just dump one community and move on to the next one, release a new project, and then leave that community behind and move on. And if there's no accountability, if there's no real people attached or personalities attached, then I find it difficult to want to invest in the long term. It doesn't necessarily have to be fully not anonymous. Like, pseudonymous is perfectly fine as long as someone has, like, if they have a Twitter profile and they're known in the community and they've been around for, like, 6 months or years even. I don't need to know their real name. I don't need to know their face. I don't need to know any of that. But there's obviously a personality and a person and a human and a just entity behind this, and it's not fully anonymous. Whereas if a project is launching and on their website they have a team page and it's just like 4 pictures of whatever their profile picture avatar is, there's no links to Twitter, there's no links to any anything, or if there is a link that Twitter was just created like 2 weeks ago or anything like that, that's just sort of a red flag and doesn't appeal to me.
Yeah, makes sense. About just like building community, there's been like the different tactics that NFT drops are using to just like create buzz. I know you mentioned whitelists on one of your recent newsletters. Just like, what are the most kind of recent trends that you're seeing, both in community building or like just like in NFT drops recently?
Yeah, so whitelists have been a popular thing for maybe the last 2 months. Yeah, 6 to 8 weeks. They were sort of around a little bit before that, but nowhere near as prevalent as they are now. And there was sort of an answer to gas wars, because people were getting fed up with gas wars, and projects were like, all right, we can just whitelist the people and then they can mint when they want without gas. And it was and is a decent solution to that. But where people are getting fed up now is that projects are using access to the whitelist as a way to sort of inorganically build their community. So what they'll do is they'll say, we have a Discord. If you invite 5 friends, we'll give you a whitelist spot. And then so they really inflate the Discord numbers. And, originally this idea worked. It worked decently well. Projects were able to grow their communities. But now I think we're at the point where people are savvy enough. They know that all projects are going to do this. They'll set up bots. They'll set up fake accounts on their other computers or on their phone to join these Discords and pretend to, they basically pad their numbers. And, even if they do get 5 genuine friends, humans, whoever to join the channel, it doesn't necessarily mean that those who joined are going to be interested in your project. So that's sort of one approach for community building that projects are taking, and it works in getting people through the door and padding your numbers. But I don't think it necessarily works in growing a strong and healthy community. So one thing is, if you do these types of things and you do get, several hundred or several thousand real people through the doors to your Discord, it's now your responsibility to make them want to stay, to make them want to, get invested in your project, to find it appealing. And you really have to do that quick and effectively, because most of us in the space, we're in dozens, if not hundreds of Discord servers. If we're joining one just for a whitelist spot, we're not going to spend much time there. So maybe we spend 30 seconds, we read announcements, we read a whitelist post, and then if something catches our eye, we may spend a little longer. Otherwise, we're off to the next thing. And so if a project really wants to succeed with this approach, they need to find a way to capture people's attention really quickly. I'm a big fan of, I think it's a double-edged sword. This approach does work, and there is a time and place for it. But I'm a fan of finding other ways to really build your community. And unfortunately, or fortunately, the best and most effective way to build a community is just spend time. Like, it takes time to organically grow. If you want to launch next week and you don't have a community, you're not going to be able to launch with a strong community. Push your launch date a month, 2 months, 3 months. It really is a better idea, I think, to push launch, build a strong community, have people excited for your project, and then launch it, than to rush to launch, not have it sell out, have a lot of people unhappy because they bought or minted and now it's trading below mint, and then just this, you're sort of playing catch up and hoping that people will, for some reason, decide to invest.
What do you mean when you kind of encourage people to, or NFT projects to be better? You have this kind of big post just like admonishing people, be better. So what do you mean by that?
Yeah, it's all of that. It's if the whitelisting thing is working for a while and other projects are using it to get people in the Discord and these invite contests, yes, copy it, maybe use it as a tool, but don't rely on it as a way to build your community. Just find new ways, find innovative ways, be creative, find a way to make people want to stay, to want to be part of your community. Don't rely on what's worked before, because sentiment changes very quickly in this space. You can't rely on it going forward. If you make pave your own path, it's just better. And I think that the whole post was sort of a response to the hundreds of new projects launching every week, and the fact that so many of them are low effort, and even the ones that aren't low effort that people have been working on for a couple of months, they aren't necessarily groundbreaking, innovative, fantastic, amazing things that make everyone want to rush in and be a part of. They're just, another decently well executed profile picture project. And I don't think that's good enough anymore. I think we need to, I think the market is getting fed up of all these same sort of projects, and we want to find cool, new, interesting things to invest in. And I think that's sort of where we will head going forward. I see that sort of already starting to happen with a flight to sort of gaming NFTs, and people are starting to see that, collectibles and art and profile pictures and stuff were good, and there's a place for them in the space. But, really how, who needs 10 profile picture projects? You buy one, you find that community, maybe you buy a couple other because you really like them. But very few people are going to be able to engage in even half a dozen communities, let alone however many projects are dropping now. Whereas with gaming, the gaming industry is enormous. And I think that more people will resonate to games, at least, maybe avatars and profile pictures will come back. I'm sure they will, because when we get millions and billions of people in the space, there's going to be a need for many more projects. But right here and now, we're just oversaturated with them, and people want something else.
Interesting. So do you think this NFT bear market that we're in, that you've said that you think that's where we're at, that we're in an NFT bear market, do you think that's been driven because there was just this flood of avatar project? And if you could go into like where we're at in the market right now.
Yeah, I think that's a big part of it, just the oversaturation of projects. But we a lot of us in the community have said that the market was oversaturated in June, and then we said it in July, and then in August, and then September. And eventually, it was going to be right. Like, eventually, the supply was going to completely dwarf demand. And I think that's sort of where we are now. I don't think it was just that. I think the fact that ETH prices took a massive run up had people a little bit scared to invest more ETH into the NFT space in case ETH kept running up. And gas prices have also been really high, which makes it difficult for people to buy and sell, especially the lower priced NFTs. Like, if an NFT is 0.05 and gas is going to be another 0.05, it doesn't make a lot of sense for people to want to buy that. So I think it's like these three things have all contributed, but certainly the massive oversupply is a big factor.
Do you think there will be a inverse correlation between ETH and NFTs going forward because of what you mentioned?
It's really hard to say. Like, we've seen over the last year, obviously the NFT market has matured a lot, but it's still relatively immature. We've seen, ETH go to 4K and then tank to like 1700 and then go to 2.5K and then again run up to 4K. And there hasn't really necessarily been a strong correlation, because last time ETH sort of pumped, NFTs were also pumping, like when it went from 1700 to 2.5K or 3K or whatever. But this time when ETH pumped, NFTs tanked. I think as the market matures, the level of correlation will become less evident. And it is hard to say. I think that as ETH prices go up, NFT prices in ETH will come down a little bit, but probably not to the same, ratio that ETH is going up. It's like if we have a 10K ETH, it's just like a 0.1 ETH project is now $1,000 compared to a few months ago where it was $200, and that's just naturally going to make it much more difficult to sell out. Like, new people to the space who have to convert their whatever currency they're coming from to ETH are just going to get less bang for their buck. And so yes, I think naturally there will be some sort of correlation, but it probably won't be a close to perfect correlation.
Right, so maybe NFTs will drop in ETH terms as ETH price goes up, but maybe not in dollar terms. Yeah,
I think so. And I think that for the foreseeable future, they'll still go up in dollar terms. But, I mean, over, say, the next couple of years, not necessarily the next month or two. But probably not as much as just pure ETH.
So I think, I want to get to the kind of the what you were getting at before with your transition into just looking more closely at gaming NFTs, because as you were talking about investing in NFT projects and in community, in the end, to me, there has to be something else there for a project to be valuable, right? Like it's sometimes it's like hard for me to wrap my head around. Okay, there's this NFT project, and yeah, like maybe it looks really cool, and maybe people love showing it off on their Twitter avatar, and maybe it has like this really kind of hopping Discord chat, that everyone's there. But like, is that worth millions of dollars? So it's like, at what point do you need something more like substantial there? Like do NFTs need to represent some like actual utility, right? Like at some actual like platforms providing some sort of value, some sort of service to people, like for example a game, like I don't know, like some yield, some financial product, or something else besides saying like, oh, like I'm part of this cool club. Like, is that going to be enough in the future? Do you think is there like always going to be a place for that, or do you think that we'll evolve past that where people will just demand more utility from these things?
I think there's definitely a place for it, and there always will be, just as like NFT avatars or NFTs themselves as status symbols in effect. And there's no real, like, CryptoPunks don't have much in the way of utility, but their valuation is enormous because, they were the first large generative project. They were so early. They've just sort of become a brand and culture in and of themselves. And having one, it's really now, it's like a huge, almost like a flex. And like in real life, people buy, I don't know, Ferraris and Rolex watches and Louis Vuitton bags and all sorts of luxury goods, where the utility of those is not really much better than a $20,000 car or any bag or any watch that works. It's just to show off to other people, to say, hey, I have money, I can afford this slightly more luxury good for whatever reasons. And, maybe they're of a little higher quality, but not to the extent that they're demanding those prices. And I think sort of some NFT projects have a lot of that going on with them, where it's sort of a status symbol that people are willing to pay for to be part of this club, to be part of this community. And I think the community aspect does have some utility to it. Like, the networking effects of a really strong community are powerful. And like, take the Bored Apes, for example. They really started off this whole wave of community-driven projects. And, there's now almost 6,000 unique original ape owners. I don't know how many mutants and stuff there are, but we've sort of formed this community on Twitter, on Discord, where just, if by nature of someone having this profile picture being part of the club, we're just willing to help each other out, network. And it's like, in real life, there's value to networking, and people pay tens to hundreds of thousands of dollars a year to be part of, say, a country club or a golf club, where a lot of the value is derived from being part of the club. It's not really like you can go play golf for $100 or whatever it is. You don't need to pay six figures a year to be part of a golf club if it wasn't for the networking effects and the community aspect. And I think we're seeing a bit of that in the NFT space. I think going forward, it's going to get harder and harder for projects to like that be their only thing. Like, we've already got a bunch of these types of projects, these exclusive, these higher price, these quote unquote blue chip projects that, if someone wants to be part of one of those clubs, they can already, they can go get a punk, they can go to get ape, a cool cat, and there's, a couple dozen projects in the 1 to 3 ETH range that will probably end up being, more exclusive, higher tier priced clubs. But yeah, I don't think there's definitely not room for like hundreds of these types of projects, I think, at least at the moment. And that's where we're seeing like people who are coming to invest in projects now, if they can't afford that, then they do want utility. They do want something more. And that's where the gaming comes into the effect, or the yield. Like the craze went a couple of weeks ago, maybe a month ago, where every project was saying, "Hey, we're going to release a token. It's passive income. It's yield," and they hadn't really realized, what the legal ramifications were, and a lot of backpedaling happened after that. But the market really loved that idea. They were obsessed with it. That's why all the projects kept doing it, because if you released a project with that, everyone would buy in, because they wanted that DeFi element to their NFTs and that utility, which most other projects aren't offering. So I think we're going to keep seeing innovation and evolution forward about ways that projects can add utility beyond just the community and just beyond some sort of basic token. And gaming is an excellent use case of that. And yeah, I hope we see other cool use cases too.
What other like types of utility are you seeing, if any? I don't know if there's like anything else besides kind of NFT and gaming out there. I don't know, like what are some of the like new use cases?
So there's like some projects that are doing like in real life events that where if you have the token you get access to. Just general membership access tokens in general. Like we sort of saw the first real big one with Gary V's VFriends, where if you had one, you got access to his Discord and then some benefits for being a holder, and then like access to his in real life conferences for the next 3 years, I think. And we've seen a bunch of other like membership tokens or like passes, like MetaKey, House of Kiba, and then there's a bunch of private Discords and stuff where the NFT, the utility of the NFT is sort of entry to like a membership or a club, but instead of just being like a profile picture club, the token itself is sort of irrelevant. Like either it's an ERC 1155, so every NFT is the same, essentially making them fungible, or it's like Gary V, where he just doodled and like the art isn't the selling point. It's like this is a membership to the club. And in those cases, the project's offering something in return, whether it's collabs with other projects, whether it's courses and information on how to improve your level of education, access to conferences, access to a private Discord, things like that. So that's like tangible value, and it's sort of like the Web3 way of content creators getting paid. Like previously, it would be ads on a YouTube channel, monthly, $10 fee to subscribe to your newsletter, whatever it is. And now people are saying, hey, buy my NFT. That gives you either lifetime access, or in some cases for 12 months, this will give you access. And I think that's a really somewhat innovative way that people are using NFTs to add utility. Yeah, we've seen a bit of that, and I think we're going to see more of that.
Totally. No, that's super interesting. I'm definitely looking into that as well. So going further into kind of this NFT utility space, what are you seeing in NFTs and the DeFi intersection?
Yeah, so obviously we had that phase, a month ago with yield tokens, and you could stake your NFT and generate tokens, and it's tricky because it creates it makes it so that your NFTs are securities and not assets, or rather non-securities. So the Securities and Exchange Commission in America will come after you, and there's all sorts of issues like that, and regulate it. And I think the real issue with that is that if the token that's being generated is like traded for financial gain, if it's just a governance or utility token, then they can probably get away with it. But it's a gray area, and I think it's really cool that projects are exploring this and experimenting with it, because I'm fascinated with the idea of NFTs crossed with DeFi. In some cases, just holding the NFT allows you to passively accrue tokens, or in the case we had that Bodo airdrop, so Bodo is like an artificial intelligence that users who own the token can vote on, essentially train the artificial intelligence to create art. And what they did is they like retroactively airdropped or made able to be claimed tokens by anyone who owned, say, CryptoPunk, a Bored Ape, art blocks, a super rare piece, and stuff like that. So instead of it being like an ongoing yielding thing, it was like, you own this NFT, now you get this token. And I think we're going to see more of that sort of stuff go forward. But what I'm truly excited for, which I think we're probably still a few months away from, is like a seamless way for people to borrow against their NFTs. So at the moment, NFTs are so illiquid, and if you have 10 ETH in an NFT, it's basically all locked in that NFT. You either have to sell it to get the money back, or like do a peer-to-peer loan. So that's a one-on-one, say, hey, I'll lend you my NFT, lock it up in a smart contract or a trusted third party, and, pay them some interest. And it's just very clunky and difficult at the moment. But we're going to see sort of these centralized automatic market makers where you can, go and say loan against 40% of the value of your NFT. They'll evaluate what every NFT collection is worth, or the whitelisted ones that they decide to put on their platform. And you can say, all right, I'll borrow, 4 ETH against my 10 ETH NFT. I won't need it for this time. It's 2% interest or something nice and low, and we'll pay you back. And when I want it, I can just unlock that money, and then people can use that money to even just buy other NFTs or just, go yield farm on whatever, regular DeFi, and usually get more than 2% or whatever low interest rate this platform is offering. Maybe they're going to charge 3 or 4%, but I don't think it'll be too exorbitant, and you should be able to get better yields elsewhere. And it's just sort of going to be this great unlocking of liquidity. I think that's really going to kickstart the next huge bull run in the NFT space. Whether we get that in 3 months or a year, it's hard to tell. But it's also going to come with a ton of risks. Like, as soon as people can do that, that's when people can over collateralize, they can leverage themselves, and that's when a market downturn can really get people liquidated and crashing. And that's when, I don't think we've seen a true bear market yet, but I also don't think we've seen a true bull market. And they're both going to come with more interoperability with DeFi and NFTs, I think.
Totally. Well, yeah, that's what kind of leverage does. It supercharges the market on both sides. Yeah. But I know there's already some projects trying to do this, like NFTFi and others. Do you think those still fall short, or what's missing for you there?
Yeah, they definitely fall short. NFTFi, I use it because it's the best we have, or one of the best options we have in terms of borrowing against your NFT. The issue is that it's peer-to-peer, so you need another person to make an offer on your NFT. The terms are usually quite unfavorable for the person lending their NFT. Most of the time, the interest rates people will offer or receive are 10 to 50%, sometimes more. And it's just the infrastructure is not set up in an optimized way, in the sense that if you want to lend your NFT, you have to pay a gas transaction cost to unlock it on the platform, and then to sort of, receive offers. So before you even agree to lend anything, you have to pay gas, and the gas to use their platform is considerably high because their contracts are very sophisticated, and so it's just not very gas efficient. And if someone wants to borrow against a 1 ETH NFT, it doesn't make much sense to pay 0.2 ETH in gas to approve the token, accept the loan, and then repay the loan. So all those things are really hurt. It's an okay solution, but it's not enough to sort of unlock a ton of liquidity.
Got it. Makes sense. To start wrapping up, I really want to hear about your own NFT project.
Yeah, so sort of as I was just talking about membership tokens, my project is basically going to be that. It'll probably be, when this video goes live, I think it will have launched or will be launching in the next few days or week. So I have a Discord server which has about 11,000 people now, and I originally planned for it to always be public and free and open, but I also wanted to release an NFT and sort of create it as a membership token. And I was going to say, all right, I'll give a couple of private channels within the Discord and give access to those, and maybe early access to my newsletter, and find other ways to provide value. But I ended up locking the Discord to new people, largely because we had some scammers coming in and pretending to basically be community members and post malicious links and scam others. And I just wanted to find a way to sort of gate the community and safeguard it a little bit. And we've seen all the Discord hacks happening lately. And I just think having a small financial barrier to entry, or even just a logistical barrier to entry, will help keep the quality of the community high. So I'm dropping my NFT project. There'll be 2 price tiers, and 99% of people will be interested if they're interested in the lower price tier, which is 0.033 ETH, and it's basically a lifetime membership to what I'm calling Zen Academy. So my Discord server is currently all it is. I have sort of plans and visions to build on this whole platform in the future, but I don't really know what it's going to be like because the space moves so quickly. But 0.03 ETH for lifetime access, I think, is quite reasonable for what it is. There will be other benefits aside from just Discord server access, but again, I'm still figuring out what they're going to be, and a lot of it will be, if people are buying a membership token, a lot of it is just trusting in me and belief in me, and if they think that I'm going to build something good, cool, interesting, and valuable, and all of that, then great. If they don't, then it's probably not the right NFT for them. And I'm also doing it in an interesting way where instead of limiting it to 1,000 or 10,000 or whatever, it's going to be unlimited mints, open for a 2-week period. So basically anyone that wants to get one within this 2-week period will be able to decide, when gas is low, and they'll have their time. They won't need to, set an alarm in the middle of the night or miss work or whatever, like a lot of people do for hype drops. Excuse me. So yeah, that's cool. That's the lower tier. And then I have this, it's almost an experiment, but it's a crazy higher price tier exclusive club where I'm dropping 333 NFTs priced at 3.33 ETH each. And what this is basically an answer to is that, so in the last month or so, I've started doing consulting and advising for other projects. And I created a Google form, and I tweeted out saying, if you're interested in bringing me on as an advisor for your project, fill out the form. My rate is 6% of initial sale revenue. If you're okay with that, great. I'll look at your form and we can maybe work together. And then I got like 80 responses in 36 hours. And then maybe like another 50 people reaching out to me after I closed it off, asking if we could work together. And I basically realized there's just no way, like there aren't enough hours in the day. I can work with maybe 2 to 4 projects at any given time. But perhaps I could offer something at a lower price point than 6% of initial sale revenue would be, but still like a decent amount where I wouldn't be able to give you like a full-on advisory experience, but you can get access to a private Discord, access to private chats with me, phone call if you want it. I can look at your project and advise, and you have that level of access. And it's sort of an experiment where I'm selling my time, and that's one portion of people that are interested, and the other portion is people that just want to be part of an exclusive Discord community and think that it would be a good networking opportunity. And again, there's a lot of potential for me to build and create connections and collaborations with other projects and reward holders going forward. But yeah, I'm figuring it all out as I go along. And I don't have a roadmap. I don't have too much to promise because the space moves so quickly. I'll just adjust and adapt and do what I think is best. And yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, awesome. So, right, I mean, for your NFT project, it really looks like you're just leveraging NFTs as a content creator. So you're going down like this kind of utility direction that we talked about earlier. So it's not really about like the art or an avatar or anything like that. It's more access to your community. And does it also include access to your like newsletter, like your content specifically, or is it like
so it's largely my Discord and community. I want to keep as much of my content free as possible. What I will do is give early access to my newsletter. So I'll post it in my Discord, like a link to it maybe 24 hours before it goes public as just like a little token benefit. And there'll probably be some content that's just specific to Discord. So like maybe it's a market update, maybe it's an analysis of a project that doesn't really fit in my newsletter, doesn't fit in a YouTube video or whatever. And I'll definitely be putting some content that's Discord specific, but as far as stuff that I'm currently doing, like my Twitter daily stats and my newsletter and stuff, I want to keep all that free still.
And your Twitter daily stats, which I mean, they're super helpful. They really are amazing. How did you like start compiling them? And is it just like all manual? Like, is it manually that you're like going through all these prices and NFT floors and all of that?
Yeah, it was manual up until maybe 2 weeks ago. So I just started. I had a Google spreadsheet and I had like 5 projects that I was tracking that I was invested in like May or June. And I mean, just for like a few days, it was just me doing it for myself. And then I think I had a friend saying it would be really cool if I could go to a website and track floor prices. And I was like, well, I'm kind of doing it for a handful of projects. Let me just tweet it out. And people liked it. And then I added like CryptoPunks, which I don't have, but like obviously it's a massive project that people wouldn't be interested in. And then I added a couple other projects that I didn't have. And then I would buy into new projects and add them. And it was largely just me tracking projects that I was interested in, but then also what was hot and what the community seemed to be interested in and was tracking. And people would request things and I just add them. And yeah, it was all manual. I just sort of created a spreadsheet. This is the floor price. This is what it was yesterday, what it is today. This is the change. This is how many listed for sale. And I actually used to track unique owners for a very long time, but I stopped that because it just got too crazy. And also a little less accurate because projects are starting to manipulate that. But anyway, that's another topic. So it was all manual up until maybe 2 weeks ago. And I was kind of okay with it being manual, and I was happy to do it because it would take maybe half an hour to go through 50 projects, update their price. And I felt really much more connected and in tune with the market if I was checking on every single floor every single day. And yeah, I had tried automated systems in the past, and it was just sort of like, well, if you just look at the numbers, it doesn't quite give you the same feeling of, finger to the pulse or finger on the pulse, as if you're just actually looking for them. And often when I was updating them, I'd find like good deals. I'd say, hey, this is an outlier. This is way below floor. I'm going to buy it. And then, I picked up a few good projects there. But, as the list grew and as more projects get launched, and now, I don't know, we might have 200 on there now, it just became more and more time consuming. And I was spending less and less time like actively trading myself. So I felt less of a need to have, a super close connection to the market. And so I had someone reach out on Twitter who, he's a programmer. He created like a Python script to automate effectively all of it. And now, I just once a day it gets updated. Soon I'll be able to update it whenever I want. And so now I just look at it and then tweet out the interesting things.
Nice. So in like going forward, do you see yourself like where do you see yourself going? Like just creating more content, doing more trading. It looks like you're doing less and less trading and more content. Is that kind of what the plan is?
That's accurate. That's what I've been doing, and I think that's what I want to keep doing. Like, as I was doing more trading, I felt a couple of things. First was that it was just more stressful. Like, you just felt like in order to do it well and successfully, it's sort of based on how much time you put into it. Like, there are so many opportunities that are just a fact of being at the right place in the right time, in the right Discord, seeing the right tweet, being at your computer, being able to mint something at a second's notice. And, if you were away, then you'd miss things and you'd lose out. And if trading is all you're doing, then you just kind of want to be always on. And it was also not really scalable. Like, you can, like, flipping and trading is great when your bankroll is relatively small to medium and you're buying, say, 1, 2, 3, 5, 10 NFTs in a collection. But as your bankroll size grows, in order for it to be like a sizable investment in a project, you might need to mint 100, 200, 500 NFTs. And just logistically going through, listing each of those for sale, deciding what to sell them for, the effect that has on the market. Like, if you're going to sell 500 NFTs, you can't do it at once because that's going to tank the floor price. And you need to, it's just a lot more time and a lot more effort and approach to do it in a efficient way. And it just isn't scalable. And it also wasn't really that fulfilling. It's sort of similar to poker, where when you're playing and playing poker, you're effectively trying to win money from other people. When you're trading, you're effectively trying to trade better than other people. Like, if you're selling something, you think it's worth less than the person that's buying it. If they buy it, they think it's going to be worth more. If you're selling it, you think it's going to go down in price. And it's sort of like, it just didn't feel like I was really adding to the community or doing anything in a meaningful way. Whereas with content, I feel less stressful, even though I may be working longer now, but it just feels better and it's more fulfilling and rewarding. And I think going forward, I'm going to definitely spend more time. I mean, now I have my own project coming out. I'm going to be, creating content, but also finding a way to work with other content creators, whether it's like written content or videos, but also if it's like project creators and developers and designers and artists, in a way to sort of, I guess, use my platform and community now to sort of elevate them and then have like a win-win situation where they can elevate us and we can reward each other. And I just want to share some of the stuff I've learned over the last few months if people find it interesting and useful, and dedicate more time to that than trading. And I mean, I still love, like buying NFTs is very exciting, and it's still a thing that I'm always going to do, but I think it'll be more of a collecting for the long term, collecting because I love it rather than collecting to sell next week type of thing.
Awesome. Yeah, sounds good. I agree. I of course believe content creation is extremely fulfilling. So, okay. And then final question, just like your long-term view on NFTs, like where do you think the space will be 10 years from now?
10 years from now, I think we will probably have like full-on mainstream adoption by then. I think that we'll have found ways to make it amazingly scalable in a way that you can transact without spending much on gas. Transactions happen quickly. It's seamless to get involved. So like people will be able, like your grandmother will be able to get involved, and then your 5-year-old will be able to get involved. And it's like the way that like smartphones are now and apps and stuff. Like when they first came out, it wasn't that easy to like navigate tech, but as time's gone on, it's just gotten easier for everyone to get involved. And I think that NFTs, like more of our lives are going to be in the digital realm, or even if not purely in the digital realm, we'll have like augmented reality where there'll be like, you'll use NFTs to like day-to-day life. Maybe you have an NFT that is your loyalty card for your coffee shop, and you just scan that every time you go, or something like that. And obviously with gaming, it's going to be everywhere. The metaverse is going to be huge and real, and people will be spending more time. Like instead of having a Zoom call like this, we could be sitting around a metaverse table with VR headsets or something like that, and it will just sort of be the normal. And it's very exciting. I think like billions of people will be interacting with NFTs in 10 years.
It'll just be like part of our lives. Like maybe we won't even really think about it as much. Sort of like how we use our phone or credit card. It's just like part of things.
And most people probably won't understand like the tech or how it works in a way that most people don't really understand how their computer actually works, or how their phone works, or how the algorithms behind Facebook and stuff works. It's just like you use the user interface, which is going to be very easy for anyone to use, and then under all that we'll have Ethereum running and multiple blockchains and side chains and roll-ups and layers, and gas transactions will be there, but they'll be sort of baked in and hidden, and I think it'll just be very seamless. But we're a long way from that. Maybe 10 years is about right though.
Yeah. Well, and that's where the opportunity is, right? It's really early right now.
Yeah, for sure. We are very early.
Awesome. Well, Zeneca, really appreciate you taking the time. This has been super fun and interesting.
Yeah, this was great. Thanks for having me.